Hello, everybody. Hi, how are you guys? It's been a while since I have come on live. Soul SiStar Light Up started last month, and I had my wonderful guest on, Karen Monaco, and she talked about business and spiritual business and how to, what 3 to 4 steps that you could do to get started, really just get started. So it was an amazing chat. And next week I will have Liz Sorelli on, and she's going to come. She's a life coach and an amazing person who I've met through Rise Sister Rise. Both of these women I actually met through Rise Sister Rise, which is Rebecca Campbell's group. I'll talk about her in a minute. But for today, it's just me, and I wanted to just gonna get a little reintroduction. I did Soul SiStar Light. I think I started Soul SiStar Light Up in, with this COVID, pre-COVID. I don't even freaking know. I know it was pre-COVID, so it was probably 2019, and I did a full year of that. It kind of morphed its way through to becoming what it is now, which is I talk to people, primarily women, but also men who are on their journey, their evolutionary journey, whether that's a spiritual one or just kind of really present, being present in the moment and understanding that life is about ups and downs, but it's also about living it. So primarily we talk about spiritual stuff, and primarily we talk about spiritual journeys. But I'm open to anyone who has something to offer, who is of service in some way to help the highest and greatest good. So that's really what Soul SiStar Light Up is about. That's not really what it started as. It evolved into this is what I love about my spiritual journey, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But I just love that I've been able to let things kind of flow, right? And trust me, not easy. Not an easy thing to do. But through time and through accepting this and leaning into this path, I've been able to kind of just see how things evolve, right? I'll have an idea. I will start with the idea eventually, and then if it changes, I'm open to that, right? So not this rigidity of like it has to be this way and that's the only way. So allowing things to evolve, and I think Soul SiStar Light Up has evolved into this amazing, beautiful space for beautiful souls to share their wisdom, really, because there's so much wisdom. We have so much wisdom, and so many people are awakening right now to their wisdom, right? And these little buzzwords, awakening and spiritual journey and all that, but this is the language that we have. So I wanted to come back here, talk about Soul SiStar Light Up, and also talk about me a little bit. Whoever's watching, you guys probably know me. You've probably known me for a long time, or you've recently met me, or maybe we've worked together in some capacity, whether through healing or actual work, right? When I used to work in the real world, and not just my business. But I am a psychotherapist, so I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist by training, and that's my primary gig right now. That's what I do. That also has evolved through time. When I started my business about 5.5 years ago now, 2016, I think it was, 2016, 2017, I was doing a lot of couples work and a lot of family work and work with children, but that's evolved through time now, and I'm doing more individual work and some couples work. I'm evolving from that as well. The couples work is going to start to look different, especially in 2022 and 2023. So that actually I wasn't planning on talking about that, but since it came up, might as well talk about it. So yeah, I mean, I want to evolve into working with bigger groups, right? So working in groups, because I think community healing is such an amazing thing, and the transformations are astronomical compared to like one-to-one work or healing. I love doing one-to-one work, but I really have seen the amazing gift and energy and transformation that people have in such a much rapid rate when there is a group of people doing this. So the plan eventually will be to evolve a lot of the couples work into like couples intensive weekends, connection weekends, that kind of thing. So that's probably at the end of this year. So I guess I'm starting with the end of this year. But anyway, going back to, wanting to talk about like my journey. So like I said, psychotherapist, licensed marriage and family therapist in private practice, and also in the last, since really 2011, 2012, I've been, like I said, on my own journey, but also evolving into a spiritual teacher. So I've been working for the last 3 years with shamanic Reiki. I was actually Reiki attuned in 2011, to level Reiki 1 and then level Reiki 2. And then never really went to level Reiki 3, which is the master level. And I was just like, kind of like, I don't know, it wasn't feeling right. And then when I started going to Omega Institute for retreats, I found shamanic Reiki. And that, when I went to that, it was like, oh, light bulb, here it is. This is what was missing. So I needed that connection between shamanism, shamanic practices, and Reiki. And I didn't even know that existed. I didn't even know that was a thing, but it is. And it kind of connects, the heavens and the earth so nicely and so beautifully. And it is such an amazing mode of healing. It clears and works through a lot of things that people need to release, and it's just a beautiful process to watch. So I've been doing that for the last 3 years, and I am a shamanic Reiki master teacher. So that's one of the first things that's coming down the pike, is I will be teaching shamanic Reiki level 1 and 2. And that's probably going to be sometime in March. The dates are fluid right now, so if you're interested, send me an email, and we will talk about some dates. So I'm shooting for March. But with that evolution that I started going through in 2011, I feel like I'm all over the place. So I apologize, but that's just kind of where it's at, and I'm just going to go with it. I really needed to start looking at myself and the things that were happening in my life and why they were happening. And it was really all for my development, right? So I had to work through a lot of, bitterness and anger, especially, kind of in relation to my relationship with my father, and do a lot of healing around that. And then some, what we call in the spiritual world, dark nights of the soul things occurred, or crumblings, right? But at the same time, while those things were happening, I was being led to different teachers. So I had Louise Hay, and you guys have heard me talk about her. She's been a teacher for a long time as far as affirmations and, kind of trying to heal that internal critic, or trying to quiet it down, and, changing kind of mindset about your vibrational thoughts. If they're negative, you're going to get the negative, right? And the dis-ease in the body. So that was one of my very, very first spiritual teachers. And actually my mom introduced me to Louise Hay when I was probably like 15 or 16 years old. She gave me the book, You Can Heal Your Life. And as a 15, 16-year-old, I read it, but, not really paying much attention, but I think seeds were planted. And then as time went on, different things happened. I started developing more sensitivities, just in my 20s, having really big, high emotions. And I learned about an empath in my 30s, like, what's an empath? So I learned about that, and I was like, okay, that seems familiar. It seems like it could fit. And it just took me down a path of discovering more, and then allowing myself to let things come to me, right? So in like 2018 maybe, a good friend of mine introduced me to Rebecca Campbell. And that really, no, was it 2018? No, it was like 2015, something like that. And because it was before one of the biggest dark nights of the soul for me, and that was perfect timing. But Rebecca Campbell, her book, Light is the New Black, really kind of changed my perspective on being sensitive and spirituality and all of that. And it gave me permission to be okay with that kind of stuff, right? And really lean into it and really tap into it. And she has this term, it's not her term, but she has a term in her book, which was the first time I ever heard it, stepping out of the spiritual closet. And that's what I felt was happening. I was starting to emerge and starting to not care if people thought I was crazy or weird, because there were moments in time like that. When I started working with oracle cards, I would try to, kind of bring the oracle cards out, because when you start working with oracle cards, you kind of always carry them in your pocketbook, or purse or bag or whatever. That's just kind of a thing. And you guys who work with oracle cards know what I'm talking about. So maybe 1 or 2 decks at a time, maybe 4. I mean, depending on how big your bag is, right? So I would always have oracle cards with me. So I'd go to parties with friends and, just kind of like, hey, do you, whatever, like just to kind of practice it out. And there were some interesting reactions at times. So, and then I would kind of retract, right? And be like, okay, well, I can only do this behind closed doors, or I can only be this a little bit at a time and not, so, but reading Rebecca Campbell allowed me, and reading the rest of her books and interacting with her in her membership and all of that stuff really just kind of allowed me to emerge and accept what was happening and what was an undeniable thing that needed to happen, right? And that had been happening my whole entire life. This isn't something that all of a sudden at 30, something clicked and whatever. Like, when I look back at my childhood, when I look back at how sensitive I was and how intuitive I was as a child, and how outspoken I was as a child, just kind of very determined, and the kid that was always outside playing in nature. I'm the youngest of 5 women, and my sisters in the middle were all very close in age. My oldest was always with her boyfriend, who is now her husband. They've been together forever. And then, so it was kind of me, right, at home, but with friends, of course, but most of the time I would be at home alone and dreaming up all these things and playing outside in the yard and talking to fairies and digging in dirt and like just being very connected with the earth, and I remember every time it would rain, I would run outside, like in the summertime. That was like my joy and my glory, to just be out in the rain, be in puddles barefoot. Like, it was just joy, so this was not something that all of a sudden a dark night of the soul came, a really intense one, and then but all of a sudden so these were things that were developing through time, and of course as society, because of society closing off, so opening up and closing off, opening up and closing off. And a lot of you who are on this path know exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, then there were a couple of really big dark nights of the soul in my 30s, in my mid 30s, and it was just like, enough is enough. You have to do this. This is what you have to do. This is what you have to focus on. So I went back into, going to retreats, or not even went back. I started going to retreats. I hadn't gone to retreats before, maybe a work retreat, but not like a real soul diving, soul inquiry, deep meditation retreat. Started reading books. I mean, when also people know what I'm talking about, like 5 or 6 books at a time, listening to 3 of them on Audible, like just all of this knowledge that I needed to gain, and I needed to, or that my soul finally was open to, or my human self was finally open to, because my soul had been trying to tell me all along. So, yeah, I mean, one of the biggest dark nights of the soul, it was being fired from my last job. Like, that was a thing that had never happened to me before, right? Also discovering that, I was a little bit of, not type A, but like a little perfectionist part was there. So that hit my ego so hard, when that happened. I had finally been promoted, gone to middle management, which sucks. Everybody knows who's in middle management, it sucks. And I was the unhappiest I had ever been, right? And I think I got I know I got myself fired pretty much, because I had this vision in my head of going into private practice and doing my own thing. I was just done working for others, and, the bureaucracy and the politics and the this and the that and the favoritism. So it was exactly what I needed, but my ego did not think it was what I needed, right? Because it was devastating. It was such a shock to be fired. Like, who, like, what? That's never happened. I've always left jobs on good terms. So that was a very difficult thing. And that really, I remember it was in the summer, and I would go to the beach and I would read, and I would, read my books and do my, my vision boards and do all this stuff. And, I had my very first panic attack during that time too. Like, really thought I was having a heart attack. But that was also a shedding, and it was an opening up, and it was a release of all the things and making room for what was going to happen next, and we never know what's going to happen next. But I have allowed, with a lot of kicking and screaming and anger and whatever else, myself to kind of lean into this space and into this journey, and really wanting to do all the things in the beginning when you like truly accept this this space or this path for yourself, wanting to do all the things. So it was like taking this training and taking that training and spending all this money and all this stuff. And I was finally like, no, you have to focus on what's working. And everything that I've done, the Reiki, the shamanic Reiki, crystal dreaming, which I'll talk about in a minute, sound healing stuff, which I will do a little bit for you guys. It's all interrelated, and it's all connection with the cosmos and the earth. And that is exactly the recipe, and what it, just being connected, you know, from the top chakras into the heart center down to the root, you know, the bottom chakras. The root chakra is the one that connect us to the earth. So that felt so complete for me, and I, you know, just now I'm focusing on that. So I am a shamanic Reiki master teacher. So like I said, in March, message me if you're interested. I'll be teaching level 1 and 2. Or if March doesn't work, I'm flexible. So crystal dreaming was a thing that I also kind of was just brought to me when I went to Rebecca Campbell. See how all of this is interrelated? When I went to Rebecca Campbell's 5-day workshop at Omega, where I met a lot of these amazing, beautiful women that you'll see on SiStar Light Up, or met through the groups after that, right? Maybe not in person, but met through the groups after. I stayed at an Airbnb because I love Airbnbs. And I think Omega's accommodations, sorry Omega, but your accommodations are way too simple for the prices that you charge. So I rather have a little bit more amenities. So the Airbnb that I ended up in, the woman, the owner of the Airbnb, and her husband, but her in particular, became one of my teachers too. And I had been asking for teachers, right? So I had been asking for more teachers, like in-person teachers, because Rebecca Campbell she's in England, you know, and she's not as accessible, right? So I needed an in-person teacher. And lo and behold, I go to this Airbnb, beautiful place. I love it. It's, you know, and there's a folder there, and she's an ordained minister, and you know, a counselor, a therapist, and all these things. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. And one thing in there that stuck out to me was crystal dreaming, and I was like, what is this? This looks so freaking cool, because it also had shamanic tones to it, right? So here it is, all the things interlacing together and allowing me to see and the breadcrumbs and follow them, like my friend Karen says. And so I, you know, after I left the Airbnb, I mean, I never met her in person because she was busy working and, you know, healing people. So I met her lovely husband, whom I love, and they've become like family to me. But I called her later, or I emailed her, and I said, I want to do a session. I want to do a crystal dreaming session. So she was like, okay, great. Her daughter lives in Connecticut. She had just had a baby, so she was coming to Connecticut on Mondays and Tuesdays to babysit. So she was like, let's do something in your office, in this office right here. So we did. She came, did it. It was one of the most profound and amazing experiences that I have ever had in my life. So as soon as I came up from the experience, it was like a 2.5-hour session. I was just like, yep, I want in. What's going on here? I need this. I need to know how to do this. So I did. I might have been a few months after that. She teaches the class twice a year, and she just happened to have a class coming up. So I signed up, and I've never turned back. And I mean, I've always been a crystal person. Like, I've loved rocks and crystals and shells and, you know, anything like that. So it was completely up my alley. I mean, I already had a collection of crystals, and then I was going to get a new one that does really amazing things. So crystal dreaming is, in a nutshell, it's a journeying process in a crystal mandala. So it is, you go into altered states, and go in search of whatever needs to be released, or whatever needs to be healed, or whatever needs to be transmuted. So it is I can't say much about it because it is such a unique experience for everybody. Everybody's experience is different, and even if you do it multiple times, it'll be different. But it is a profound and amazing way of healing and releasing, and you know, releasing traumas, and really releasing energetic cords, and really finding what it is that is going to help you move in the right direction in your life. You know, it's working a lot with guides, with your angels and your guides, and it is a beautiful, beautiful experience. So because of that, I went through the practitioner, so I became a practitioner, and then I did the advanced course, which allows me to do crystal dreaming virtually. And now this past September, I became a teacher, and I'm actually one of 4 teachers in the United States, because 3 other people trained with me, and my teacher Jude was the only teacher certified in the United States to teach. This modality comes from Australia. Raym Richards is the person who received the information to create this healing modality. So it's amazing. It really is. It can really shift a lot of things for people. So yeah, so that is, that's where I'm at. So that's another thing that's coming up too, is I will be teaching crystal dreaming practitioner course in April. And I think that's the 3rd week of April. I didn't check the exact dates before I got on, so but it's the 3rd week of April, the 3rd weekend of April, because it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all day, from probably 9 in the morning to 5 the first day, then 10 to probably 5:30 the other 2 days. It's an intensive training, but by the time you leave there, you will be a crystal dreaming practitioner. The only requirement is that if you do sign up for the class, you have to have a session before you take the course, because you have to know how to what the experience is like, or what it would be like for you. So if you're interested, send me a message. You can, message me on Facebook, or my email is, I can put it down in the comments. But this is going to be amazing. The first day of the course is just crystals 101. Really, it's learning all about crystals, learning about the crystals in the mandala and their functions, and how crystals work. And then day 2 is learning about the entire process and what that looks like, and you kind of role playing, just allowing yourself to say the words and feel the rhythm of the practice of the healing session. And then the 3rd day is practicum day. So we in triads rotate from practitioner to client to observer. So it's really intense, and it's really awesome. And by the time you leave there, you will be able to do a session. A lot of people get freaked out, or they feel nervous about it, but you'll also have a lot of support. You can join the monthly supervision group that my teacher does. She's awesome. She's amazing. And we do a lot of practice there. So that's coming up in April. My going back to my spiritual journey, has been fun and intense and infuriating sometimes. And I tell people all the time, when you say yes to this journey, it's gonna happen, right? And it's not for the faint of heart, and it's not roses and ponies, like I say, but it is necessary. And when you say yes to it here, you've already said yes to it before you even came here. Your soul has said yes to this. So is the signs and the opportunities are going to be there to open up to the journey. And if you don't see them, then, you're going to get kicked in the ass to go there, because that's kind of what happened to me, that very hard ego hit to, to my my ego when the job happened. And another really intense one that I will talk about eventually, but not right now. Another dark night of the soul that was really, really intense, all around the same time. So I was hit twice. It was quite interesting time, but it cracked me open for sure, and allowed me to be true to myself and what I need to do, and my purpose here, really is to, and I've always known, it's always been to be a healer, because that's a word I've had to get used to, because ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a doctor, or, just some kind of healer. And it really is returning back to the ways of our ancestors, and what works and what has worked, and not doing it exactly like them, but doing it in a version that helps humanity the way that it is now, right? So we don't want to keep redoing what we had been doing, right? Because that's what we're doing now. We're going back to the 1800s pretty much sometimes, but it's taking what our ancestors taught us and left for us, and using it in not, I don't want to say better ways, but in ways that work, because I mean they they did it and they did it right, you know. But patriarchy and colonization and all that stuff ruined a lot of that. So it's bringing it back to that and then using it to really help the higher and greatest good of all of us, this planet, everything. Because yeah, it's not a good, guys. Like, we're not doing well as human beings, and we have to be able to say yes to what we came here to do and stop resisting, you know? So if you're feeling like you're resisting, I also help people with their journeys and really learning what that's like for them, right? And the being able to see the signs and connecting with their intuition and really trusting themselves. So that's another way that you and I, you know, we could work together or collaborate actually as well. So yeah, I mean, that's what it is. So I'm gonna quiet myself down and I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of some sound healing, just a few minutes, because I think I did a sound healing earlier today for Copper Beach Institute 14 Days of Love, and it was amazing. It was great. There were about 35 people on the call, maybe a little more, and it was awesome. It was beautiful. So a little bit of sound healing, and then I'm going to pull a card just for the general collective, and see what comes up. So what if you're watching or watching the replay, just at this point, relax, maybe sit, lie, whatever, comfortably, and breathe into your heart center. Maybe place your hands on your heart. And just allow yourself to listen to the sounds. I'm going to see if I can shift this over so you guys can see the bowls. I don't want you to... Oh, hold on. All right. Let's see. I got a little bit of a mess in here because all the bowl covers are all over the place. But, okay. So... just allow yourself to relax and receive. All right, I don't know, I'm trying to get comfortable here, guys. All right. Take a few deep breaths. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Must be hot in my office because my face is red. So that's another thing that I will be doing in 2022 is I will be having sound healing monthly or twice a month events to help. I want to start donating to women's charities. So 30% of the proceeds will be going to different women's charities every month. And the women's charity will be highlighted every month. So that I wanted to I may be starting that. Actually, I'm gonna be, if I can get the space, and I will let you guys know. There's an office here, an empty office here in my building that I want to use, so I need to ask and see. But on 2/22 at 6:30, I'm planning on having a sound healing in person, but small group. But also I'm gonna live stream it, and that's gonna be free, and that's gonna be the kickoff if the space is available to doing the twice a month and maybe more sound healings in person and virtual, hopefully, if I can get technology to work, to help donate some money to women's charities. So that's going to be another thing in 2022, and hopefully once it gets warm, I'm going to be offering that outside, maybe at one of the parks or maybe different parks. I live in New Britain. There's a few good parks in New Britain, and I love Elizabeth Park. It's one of my favorites in Hartford. So I will keep you posted on that. But sound healing is another thing that was introduced into my life after I did actually a Reiki. Well, it was before that. I knew about the Conduit Center, whom I love, and I knew about them, had never really visited them, but I did a Reiki session on a client, and he had a guide that was very, very adamant that he had a lot of tinnitus in his ear, and it was his guides basically telling him that he did music part-time as a drummer part-time, or casually maybe, and he was being told that he needed to use that for healing. So I told him about the Conduit, even though I had never been there, but see, this is following faith and intuition, and he's been doing sound healing with them ever since. So amazing journeys for everyone, not just me, but for all the people that I'm so honored and privileged to work with. This is why I love doing this work, because you just see people transform in such an amazing way. Like, I've seen them transform in therapy, which is beautiful and sometimes takes a really long time. But in doing spiritual work and healing work and energy work, you see people transform so much quicker. And this is why, this is my passion, and this is what I'm following, and this is what I'm putting out there. And 2022 is the year, stepping out completely full and ready to be the authentic healer. I still have a little hard time saying that word, that I came here to be, right? So here is the collective. You know what? So this is what I'm saying. So before, you saw how many times I shuffled that deck, right? Just saying. And I shuffled it after. So I pulled a card for myself, and I was like, let me see before I get on this, broadcast or whatever. And it was balance. You saw how many times I shuffled that deck. You saw what happened, and I shuffled it afterwards, after I picked the card for myself. And look at the effing card that I pick. Balance. So that's the message for all of us, guys. It is balance. I love this deck. My friend Karen turned me on to this deck, and it is the I will tell you which one it is. It is the Priestess of Light Oracle by Sandra Ann Taylor and Kimberly Weber. It's a beautiful, beautiful deck. But balance, here we go. Balance, stability, standing firm. So finding balance in your life and allowing yourself to lean into more of a flow, right? We talk about this all the time. Flow is super hard, but allowing yourself to lean into it and to kind of surrender sometimes will give you that balance. It's balancing the time that you give to yourself, right, versus the time that you give to others. It's balancing your self-care. It's balancing work-life balance. It's all types of balance in order for you to feel like you are on the right path, because you are. And sometimes, like I said before, this could be really crazy. a crazy ass journey, and it can feel really ugly and yucky and sticky and frustrating. But if you allow yourself to find that balance, it will, and I hate to use it, not easier, because that's not it. It will be worth it, and it will let you really dive deep into what it is that needs to be worked on, so you can go on to the next and go on to the next, right? And not keep repeating things over and over and over again. So yeah, I mean, I was a little choppy. I was a little over the place, and because I don't like to prepare, I was gonna prepare some bullet points and stuff, but I'm like, no, let's just let it flow. So hopefully you guys were able to follow me. But message me if you want to know about shamanic Reiki level 1 and 2. Message me if you want to know about crystal dreaming, scheduling a session with me, and maybe once you have a session, you want to be you want to be a practitioner, because it's awesome. It's a beautiful healing modality. And if you're interested about hearing, I'll put more stuff out about the sound healing stuff, but if you're interested in hearing more about that, you can also message me whatever questions you have, and I will answer them the best that I can. So there was one other thing that I wanted to say. So tune in next week, 5 o'clock, for Liz Sorelli. She's going to be on talking about coaching. We're going to talk about meditation. We're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about some ways that you can maybe balance your practice a little bit more. That's one of the things that I struggle with on and off, but finding balance through a practice, some kind of daily practice, no matter how small. So yeah, so that's it, guys. If you have any questions or any inquiries or anything like that. Oh, one more thing. That's what I wanted to say. I will hopefully, if COVID acts right, I will be having an in-person retreat. Right now, I think that it's going to be at Guest House in Chester. And right now, I think the tentative date is in April, but that's depending on if other groups book or not. So more likely than not, it'll be in June, but I will keep you posted with that too. And we'll keep those small, especially if COVID is still acting the hell up. Or, people, whatever. Anyways, so yeah, I'll keep you posted on that. So either April or June. So lots of stuff happening and lots of offerings, and I hope that you take advantage of them, because they are amazing. They have definitely changed my life. And if you knew me before, you know that I'm a totally different person now. How angry and bitter I used to be, much different now. So I am a true testament to what these healing modalities and this kind of energy work can do. So I would be more than honored to be your teacher and to help you and guide you through this process, because like I said, it ain't easy. But the best things in life don't come easy. So, all right, guys, I'm signing off. Love you all. Thank you for watching, if you're watching live or on the replay. And tune in next week, 5 p.m. right here, same place, for my friend Liz Sorelli. All right, love you guys. Bye.